Hey, this is Pat, and today we are checking out the new Fox Racing V3 and V3 RS helmets. So if you're looking at Fox's line, this is the top tier, the latest helmet from Fox that you'd see on riders like Kenny Roczen, Manny Lettenbichler, or even myself if you happen to follow my racing career. I've been wearing the RS at my hare scrambles in the last couple races, as well as using the standard version, the V3, at the track, at the MX track. And I think this will be a great option for anybody out there that is out riding trails, out at the motocross track, or even doing racing. I think it fits in a lot of those categories and could be a contender for helmet of the year, in my opinion, under that $400 price point. So the standard version right here in front of me is coming in at $380. You're looking at $600 for the RS version. That gets you a forged carbon fiber main construction, as well as a few other features I'll talk about in a second. But as for the standard version, you're looking at a composite fiberglass main construction, as well as 5 shell sizes and 5 EPS liners. And I like that because the only shells that actually share a size, the only sizes that share a shell, is the extra large and the 2 extra large. So every other size is going to have its own unique shell, and that really keeps the sizing of the overall helmet down on top of your shoulders. 7 intake vents, 8 exhaust vents, and you are looking at 2 pounds 11 ounces in a size medium. That's 1 to 2 ounces down from the last version, and actually 10 ounces down from the version that we saw 4 years ago. That's 2 generations back from this version. So Fox has really been honing in the overall sizing. I think they did a fantastic job with that. Fits true to size, and it comes in intermediate oval for the internal fit, meaning it fits a little bit longer front to back than it does side to side. And if you have any questions on fitting a helmet, check out our how-to on sizing and buying a helmet. That'll go through the overall fitment and really make sure you're getting the best fitment for your head. But intermediate oval, it's a fantastic fit for the US market, so I like that they went into that. And it's DOT and ECE 2206 rated, and it has a MIPS liner inside. The MIPS liner on the RS version is a little bit different. I'll talk about that in a little bit, but it does have that MIPS rotational impact protection as well. You're looking at $360 again for the V3 and $600 for the RS. But starting at the front of the helmet, one thing I want to point out is just how sleek the front of the helmet is. If I pull up, I actually have the old version over here. You can really see just how stout and squared off the front chin bar was, and that was because we turned it to the side. They had to factor in a lot of these vents on the side, which came from their mountain bike side of the sector of their design team, which I did like at first, but the overall weight and structure that it added in just was a little bit too much, so I do like that they slimmed that down and went to a more streamlined front section of it. But overall, you can really see the changes from the helmet was a complete overhaul. New shell, new peak, new ventilation, everything like that was updated, and I think for the better. So I'm going to get rid of this old version here. And again, if we start at the front, you can see you got the ventilation up front and at the side of the jawline. You do have a mesh curtain behind the front, a little piece of foam that you can take out to stop any debris, but you can clean that out. And then every other vent does get metal grates over top. You got a couple down at the chin, as well as 2 up under the peak. Now, ventilation is one thing I want to call out, just a difference from the RS version to the regular version. That's going to be the main structural difference. You actually get 4 more vents on top of the RS that add a little bit more airflow and actually help suck out some of the hot heat. And I did notice that when it came to the overall design. It was very useful in races, but I think for the added price point, I still think the V3 might be the better between the two when it comes to the overall features for dollar. You know, under that $400 price point, I think this one still knocks it out of the park. Plenty of space to add in. I use the 100% Armega goggles, Leatt 6.5. All of them fit in here, and those are some of the biggest ones in the market. So really nice eye port, and again, the foam around it is extremely comfortable. And when we look at the peak, this was something I was really happy to see. A couple generations ago, it was kind of a joke with Fox Racing that a lot of their racers were finishing without the peak still attached because it was magnetic at all 3 points and you couldn't adjust it. They've now since ditched that and gone to a 3-point system with 3 screws. You can adjust it. It's going to stay on there. It'll shear off in the event of an accident so it doesn't hurt your neck. But you do get that, and you actually get an extended mud visor with foam over top of it in the box if you want to go ahead and add that for any of the wet, muddy races out there. Again, I like that. It's a nice feature and it's extremely streamlined. I really dig this one. Just giving you a glimpse down the side, and at the back you can see plenty of space for the goggles to straps to grab onto, and lots of space back there. It's not overly cumbersome. I do like the neck cutout at the base. Really makes it a comfortable helmet in any position, regardless that you're going down in the race. Flipping it underneath, one thing I want to point out before we get into the internals is just you do have emergency release cheek pads as well as a hydration loop system, so you can go ahead and run a hands-free system if you want up into the front vent and poke a hole through there and run it that way. I typically do that. I haven't on these ones just yet, but I've seen riders like Manny Lettenbichler and a lot of their pro enduro riders are all running that system, and it works extremely well. So when we get into the helmet here and we start peeling this one apart, I just want to call out that it does have really nice cheek pads, extremely comfortable, nice and contoured to the face, and it is emergency release in case you need to take those out in a hurry, but they snap out just fine without that. Again, you have, if I get in here and I'll try to remove the top liner. It is a 4-snap system, which we typically like to see a system that actually slides into the top liner, but I didn't notice the snaps or anything like that while racing, so I think they did a great job of moving them off to the side and away from that pressure point up top. But really nice ventilation, lots of foam on that one that you can adjust it, and you can customize the fit to make sure that it's fitting you just fine. But if we get inside the helmet, one thing, let me unsnap this right here. One thing I want to point out is it does have speaker cutouts if you want to go ahead and add a speaker system into it, like a Bluetooth system if you're riding on the trail. That's really handy, or if you're doing any coaching at the MX track. That's a nice little feature to be able to have that in there, and the cutaways will make it so the speakers aren't digging into your ears. It does come with a cover out of the box that I've removed since racing in here, in case you want to just plug that in there to reduce any noise or anything like that. Looking at the inside, one thing I want to call out that is different between the two models is the MIPS system in here. You do get that MIPS rotational system in here. You can see it gives a little bit of slip, allows the head to actually absorb some of the rotational impact, something we've seen every helmet company out there doing and adding into that. With the RS version though, you don't get the traditional MIPS system like you see in this standard version. I won't be able to show it to you because it's actually behind the EPS liner, but you can see if our camera guy zooms in, it's actually behind the EPS liner. It allows slip in the EPS itself. So that puts the EPS closer to your head to absorb the impact without reducing the rotation in there. That's a great feature. Again, it's really hard to design, which is why you get a more expensive price point within there, but it is a nice feature. I think it's great that Fox is going above and beyond and replicating things we've seen from brands like 6D, brands like Bell, and things like that. Instead of just using a traditional MIPS liner, which is great, they're pushing the limits and really adding other features in there, which is really cool to see without adding too much weight like we've seen from other models out there. But there you have it. That is the Fox Racing, the new V3. Again, we've seen 3 generations of the Fox V3 line come out in the last 4 to 5 years, which is a lot, but I think Fox has really honed in the overall fit, honed in the overall styling, as well as the ventilation and the peak to make something that is a top contender within the sub $400 market. But if you have any other questions, feel free, click that info button. That's going to take you over to our product page where you can read other rider reviews and see what other riders are saying about the new V3. If you still have other questions, our customer service team are all riders, more than happy to help you get set up for your next ride. I want to thank you for joining me and taking a look at the new V3 and V3 RS helmets from Fox. I'm Pat, and I'll see you in the next video.